Have you ever felt an ache you couldn't name only to realize it was yours all along? It wasn't loud. It didn't scream. But it sat in your chest like a stone, heavy and unmoving, pressing down every time you smiled when you didn't mean it, every time you said yes when your body said no. You learned to live with it. You called it stress. You called it being tired. But deep down, something in you always knew it was the part of you weren't letting breathe. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to shrink what made you powerful, not by force, but by silence. They didn't need to lock you away. They only needed to convince you that your hunger, your fire, your longing was too much. So you hid it, buried it beneath politeness, productivity, perfection, but it never went away. There is a message inside you, one that has been whispering through your dreams, pulsing through your desire, aching through your stillness. You may have ignored it, you may have numbed it, but you felt it, that quiet truth that says there is more of you, more to feel, more to want. And not just want, but claim. This isn't about being louder, it's about being truer. And the truth? It might hurt at first, it might shake what you've built, just to show you what you've buried. But this is not your breaking. This is your becoming. If this stirs something in you, stay. You're not here by accident. There's a reason this found you now. Are you ready to hear what's been waiting inside you all along? You knew how to be good. That was never the problem. You followed the script. You smiled at the right moments. You apologized even when no one asked you to. You showed up. You worked hard. You kept it all together. On the outside, you were everything you were supposed to be. But inside, there was a quiet throb, a dull, aching hum beneath the surface of your everyday life. It didn't roar, it pulsed. Subtle, constant, a pressure you couldn't name, only feel. You tried to fix it, didn't you? You thought, maybe if you became more organized, more attractive, more successful, the ache would disappear. You tried yoga, journaling, being positive. You tried to be grateful. Because who were you to want more when you already had so much? But the ache didn't care about logic. It didn't care about your to-do list, or your clean kitchen, or the promotions you earned with clenched teeth and tired bones. It waited, patiently, like something that knew it had all the time in the world. And when you were finally alone, when the noise quieted, when the house went still, you felt it again. That heaviness in your chest, that sense that something was missing, but you couldn't tell anyone because you didn't even have the words for it. You kept going, because what else could you do? But here's the truth. The ache didn't show up because something was wrong with you. It showed up because something was missing from you. You were taught to be less, not directly. No one came out and said it. But you were rewarded when you made yourself smaller, when you didn't interrupt, when you looked pretty but didn't take up space, when you helped others shine but kept your own brilliance tucked away like it was too bright to be polite. That kind of training gets under your skin. It convinces you that ease is earned through sacrifice, that love is something you win by being less of who you are. And so, slowly, you started shaving off pieces of yourself. The wild part, the loud part, the part that danced without looking in the mirror, the part that wanted things deeply, messily, unapologetically. You stopped listening to that part, because every time you did, someone called you too much, or dramatic, or selfish. So you adapted. You became agreeable. You became likable. You became good. But you never felt whole again, did you? That's the thing they never tell you. You can win at the game. You can play it perfectly. And you can still feel empty. Because the rules were never written for you to thrive. They were written to keep you predictable, palatable, quiet. The ache that one you keep trying to ignore is not your enemy. It is not a flaw. It is a signal. A flare from your soul saying, "You're still in here. Please come back." There is a part of you that remembers. She's been watching from the sidelines while you've tried to earn your worth through performance. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to be honest. Honest enough to say, "I'm tired of being good when it costs me my truth." Honest enough to whisper, "I want more, and I'm done apologizing for it." Honest enough to admit, This version of me, the one that always smiles, always pleases, always says she's fine, is not the whole story. So here you are, at the edge of something. Maybe not a breakdown, maybe a breakthrough. What if the ache was never meant to break you, but to wake you? What if it's not asking you to do more, but to be more of what you already are? That girl you used to be, the one who sang too loud, who dared to dream too big, who believed she could be anything, she's still here. She never left. She's just been waiting for you to stop running from her. She does not want perfection. She wants presence. She wants to feel again, to want again, to say yes only when she means it, and no without guilt. You don't have to burn everything down to come back to yourself, but you do have to stop pretending you're not hungry. Hungry for depth, for freedom, for intimacy that doesn't ask you to shrink, for purpose that doesn't drain you, for a life that fits you, not the version of you that made everyone else comfortable. The ache you feel is sacred. It's the soul's way of signaling that you're not done yet, that something inside you still wants to live fully, love wildly, speak truth without flinching. So do not numb it. Do not brush it off. Sit with it. Listen, because that ache, it's not pain. It's power, disguised. There is a place inside you that used to burn with life. You didn't build it, it was already there. Long before you learned how to please, how to hide, how to wait your turn, it stood whole and untouched. A kind of sacred ground within you. Wild, radiant, unafraid. It was the part of you that didn't ask for permission to exist. It simply did. But over time, you were taught to turn away from that place. Not with direct orders, but with glances, with raised eyebrows, with the quiet but constant reminder that a good woman stays within the lines. So you stopped visiting that part of yourself. You closed the door, little by little, until it vanished behind daily routines and silent compromises. Still, it never collapsed. It became a forgotten temple, overgrown, quiet, waiting. You might feel it now and then, like a flicker behind your ribs, a twinge of longing when you hear a song that once moved you, a wave of emotion when you see someone living boldly, freely, the way you used to before you learned it was safer to disappear. You didn't mean to abandon it. You were surviving. You were adapting. You were trying to be chosen. Because deep down, you were taught that love was a reward, not a birthright. That being desired meant being desirable, soft, pleasant, contained. But the truth is, the real you was never meant to be contained. She was meant to take up space. And she still lives in that temple. The one you buried under expectations and to-do lists. She is not gone. She is simply waiting, listening for your footsteps to return. So many women carry this same silence. We become masters at pretending we are not starving. We dress it up in perfection. We call it balance. We wear busy like a badge of honor, hoping no one sees the emptiness underneath. But there comes a moment, maybe you're in it now, when the emptiness becomes unbearable. When you realize that being wanted is not the same as being seen, that being admired is not the same as being understood, and that living for everyone else's comfort is not the same as being alive. That's when the temple begins to call you back. Not with noise, not with drama, but with memory. You start to remember the you who used to feel everything deeply. The you who once sat in silence and heard her own heartbeat and didn't flinch. The you who touched life without apologizing for wanting more of it. That remembering is painful, not because it is wrong, but because you've spent so long pretending it didn't matter. So here is the truth, whispered now through the cracks in your armor. The part of you that longs, that dreams, that aches, that part, is not a problem to solve. It is a map, a key, a signal that your life was never meant to be a performance. What if the reason you feel empty isn't because you're broken, but because you've been locked out of your own sacred space? What if your desire, yes, your desire is not selfish, but sacred? There's a reason so many of us were taught to fear it. Because a woman in touch with her desire is a woman who is no longer waiting. She's no longer begging. She is choosing. She is creating. She is walking her own path, not asking for directions. And that kind of woman is hard to control. So the world taught you to fear her, to label her, to quiet her, to disconnect from the fire in your own belly. But that fire never died. It's still burning inside the walls of your forgotten temple. You can feel it when you're honest with yourself. In those quiet moments, when no one is watching, when the mask slips, and you let your soul breathe for just a second, that's when she speaks. That's when she stirs. And the more you listen, the more you'll realize she doesn't want to burn the world down. She wants to light it up, but only if you let her. You do not need permission to return. You only need the willingness to feel again. To feel what it cost you to become someone you never truly were. To feel the grief of years spent being almost, but never quite, yourself. And then feel the power of stepping back into who you really are. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not too much. You are a temple with roots deep and walls still standing. You are the fire and the shelter, the ache and the answer. Let this be the moment you turn toward the place you left behind. Step inside. Brush the dust off your name. You have always belonged here. There is a woman inside you who has gone unfed for too long. You've heard her before, not with your ears, but somewhere deeper in your gut, in your chest, in those moments when the silence stretches long enough for truth to rise. She's the one who stirs when you watch someone live boldly, love wildly, speak their truth without flinching. She rises in the heat of your jealousy, in the tightness of your throat, in the tears that come out of nowhere and won't stop. She is not a stranger. She is not some other version of you. She is you. The part that never forgot what it meant to hunger. She doesn't want what you've been told to want. She doesn't care about approval. She doesn't shrink when others feel uncomfortable. She doesn't apologize for needing more. She wants to feel all of it. Pleasure, rage, awe, grief, power, the whole spectrum. She was born to hold it, but you were taught to starve her. You were told to be grateful with less, to settle early, to lower your voice and lower your standards, to trade your truth for peace, your wildness for safety, your body for validation. And every time you silenced her, she retreated, but she never left. She waited, she watched, and now she is hungry, not just for food or touch or rest, but for something deeper, for meaning, for connection that doesn't come with conditions, for work that makes your blood move, for nights that leave you breathless, for mornings where you don't feel like you're already behind before you even get out of bed. She wants the real thing. No more pretending, no more half-living, no more performing a version of womanhood that leaves you polished on the outside and hollow on the inside. She remembers who you were before the world told you who to be, before you learned to smile through betrayal, before you stopped asking questions that made others uncomfortable, before you stopped dancing, not because you were tired, but because you forgot the sound of your own rhythm. And now, she is knocking, not with anger, not with blame, but with urgency. She is the one who shows up in your dreams, who speaks in symbols, who appears in flashes, your hands in the dirt, your body in motion, your voice rising without shame. She is made of instinct and memory. She knows what you lost and how to bring it back, but she will not beg. She will not twist herself into something more manageable just to fit the life you've settled for. She is asking for your courage. The courage to stop pretending you are satisfied with crumbs. The courage to admit you want more, not just from the world, but from yourself. What if she is not dangerous? What if she is sacred? You've been taught to fear her because she cannot be controlled. But that's the point. She isn't meant to be tamed. She is meant to be trusted. She knows when something is off, even when you cannot name it. She knows when you're betraying yourself with a smile. She knows when you're lying by staying quiet. She is the one who tightens your chest when you say yes but mean no. The one who floods you with grief when you deny your pleasure. The one who whispers, "Not this," when you try to convince yourself you're fine. You are not broken for feeling her. You are breaking open, because what she brings is not destruction, it is reclamation. She wants to pull you out of autopilot, out of roles that do not fit, out of lives that look good but feel empty. She wants to bring you back to the pulse of who you are. But make no mistake, coming back to her will cost you. It will cost you your illusions, your need to be liked, your addiction to playing small. It will ask you to give up being easy to digest, to stop saying what others want to hear just so they stay comfortable around you. It might feel like loss, but it is actually liberation. Because in losing who you are not, you return to who you are. So, ask yourself, what are you really starving for? Not the surface stuff, not the image, not the applause. Go deeper. What does your soul crave? What does your body ache to remember? What kind of life makes your lungs expand and your voice rise? What kind of woman do you become when you stop asking for permission? She is already inside you. She always has been. And she will not rest until you remember. She is the hunger you've called too much. She is the fire you tried to extinguish. She is the truth you tucked away in the name of being acceptable. But she is not here to ruin you. She is here to restore you. Will you listen to her? Will you feed what's been forgotten? Or will you keep starving for a life that was never made for the fullness of your spirit? The choice was never between good and bad. It was always between numb and alive. And she chooses alive. There comes a moment when you finally stop running, not because you're finished or healed or fearless, but because the weight of staying lost becomes heavier than the fear of being found. Maybe it happens in the middle of a quiet morning. Maybe it hits you in the middle of a conversation that feels fake, and suddenly you can't keep pretending. Maybe it happens in the stillness, or in the heat of a breakdown that cracks something open. However it comes, it brings you to a mirror. Not a real one, but something deeper. A reflection that doesn't show your face, it shows your truth. The flame still burning behind your eyes. The hunger behind the smile. The ache behind the performance. And for the first time in a long time, you see yourself. Not the version you've been curating. Not the one that gets praised or promoted. Not the one who says all the right things and swallows the rest. No, this is the version of you that never left, even when you tried to exile her. She is raw, unpolished, and breathtaking. Looking at her hurts, because she holds all the things you gave up to survive. You see the dreams you shelved, the voice you softened, the wildness you caged in order to be chosen, to be safe, to be loved in the only ways the world said were acceptable. You see the fire and the cost of keeping it dim. And yet, what stuns you more than the grief is the beauty. She is not broken. She is not bitter. She is not forgotten. She is flame. She is mirror. She is you, without apology. And when you finally stop turning away, something shifts. The shame doesn't disappear, but it softens. The fear doesn't vanish, but it loses its grip. You begin to understand. The pain you've carried wasn't a punishment. It was a signal, a message from the flame within. She has been waiting for you to look directly at her, to stop negotiating your truth, to stop dimming your glow for someone else's comfort, to stop asking the mirror to reflect back only what you think is acceptable. She wants you whole, even if that means being messy, even if it means being misunderstood, even if it means being too much for people who only ever wanted a fraction of you. The mirror does not lie. It reveals. And what it reveals, you must choose to face. Because you cannot step into your power without first seeing what you've hidden. You cannot claim your life while pretending you're someone else. And you cannot keep your fire without being willing to feel its heat. So, you let it rise. The rage you've swallowed, the longing you've minimized, the truth you've whispered only in your mind, you let it all come up. No filter, no fear. It feels like a storm, but it's not chaos, it's clarity. Because inside that flame is not destruction. Inside that flame is your becoming. The fire is not there to burn your life down. It's there to burn away what isn't yours. It burns through false narratives, through shame you were never meant to carry, through rules that were built to contain you, not free you. It shows you what you've outgrown and gives you the courage to let it go. And yes, it will hurt. Transformation always does. It is not clean or convenient. It doesn't ask you to stay neutral or nice. It asks you to rise into a self that is honest, even when honesty shakes the ground beneath your feet. This is the part no one prepares you for. The moment when you must decide, do you keep living a life that looks right, Or do you begin living a life that feels right? Because the two are not the same. Looking in that mirror, you will be tempted to turn away, to convince yourself that the fire is too big, the truth too heavy. But if you can hold your own gaze for long enough, if you can stay in the discomfort without numbing it, you'll hear something underneath the noise. A quiet knowing, not all-consuming, not dramatic, just steady, certain. It says, "This is who I am, and I am done pretending otherwise." This is not confidence, not yet. This is something older, wiser. This is your soul remembering herself. And when you move from that place, from the fire, instead of the fear, something unlocks. You stop performing. You stop seeking approval like oxygen. You stop waiting to be picked and begin choosing yourself, not out of arrogance, but out of truth. You begin to understand that your power was never in being palatable. It was in being present, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. The mirror will always be there. So will the flame. But now, so are you. And the woman staring back? She's not someone you have to become. She's someone you finally allow to exist. Becoming her is not a moment. It is not a glow-up. It is not a straight line from broken to whole. It is not a single awakening where everything suddenly makes sense. It is a slow return, a steady unraveling, a kind of remembering that takes place in the quiet and the chaos. You do not wake up one day and declare yourself fully arrived. You wake up, and for the first time, you feel your own skin. You taste your words before speaking. You choose silence not to hide, but because you no longer owe anyone a performance. And in that stillness, something sacred begins to bloom. She does not rush you. She has waited this long, and she can wait longer. She is not here to test you, to punish you, or to demand perfection. She is here to walk with you, to be reintroduced, step by step, breath by breath. And when you stop resisting her, you realize she is not scary. She is familiar. She is not some future version of yourself that you have to chase. She is the root, the essence, the foundation that was always there, under all the noise. Becoming her is not about achieving some idealized version of womanhood. It is about shedding what was never yours. It is about unlearning the lies that said you had to be chosen to be worthy, that you had to be agreeable to be safe, that you had to stay quiet to be loved. She doesn't believe any of that. She has no interest in fitting in. She doesn't want applause. She wants truth. She wants mornings where your first thought is not shame or urgency. She wants friendships that nourish you, not ones that drain you. She wants a body that feels like home, not a battlefield. And she wants your voice, not the watered-down version, but the one that knows how to say no without guilt, and yes without doubt. You do not have to earn her. You simply have to stop betraying her. And that takes practice, because you've spent years being told that becoming who you are meant to be would cost you too much, that people will leave, that you will be too much, too intense, too emotional, too honest. And yes, some people will fall away, but they are not the ones who will walk with you forward. What you gain will be far greater. You gain a spine, not a rigid one built from defensiveness, but a strong, rooted one built from truth. You gain softness too, the kind that does not apologize for being tender, the kind that can hold both rage and grace in the same breath. You gain clarity. You stop second-guessing every instinct. You stop asking for permission. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head just to soften yourself for someone else's comfort. You start showing up as you are, not just sometimes, but all the time. That doesn't mean it's easy. There will be days when the old habits pull at you, when you're tempted to shrink again, to please, to apologize for your own needs. There will be grief for the versions of yourself that had to cope in silence. There will be moments when you wonder if it would be easier to just go back. But the ache will remind you, the fire will guide you, the temple will hold you, and she will whisper, "Keep going." Becoming her is not about becoming someone new. It is about becoming someone real. The woman who lets herself be seen in her entirety, who does not wear strength as armor, but as a knowing, who says what she means without needing to be mean, who holds her own hand when no one else shows up. She dances without an audience. She cries without apology. She laughs loudly, deeply, without checking if it is too much. She knows that joy is not something you wait for, it is something you reclaim again and again. She does not chase love. She creates it within herself. And when love arrives in the world around her, it recognizes her not because she is trying to be lovable, but because she already is. This is what freedom feels like, not the absence of fear, but the decision to move anyway. You stop living to be understood and begin living to be true. You are no longer caught in the loops of proving or pleasing. You begin choosing. You begin honoring. You begin listening to the quiet, powerful knowing that has been inside you all along. And you begin becoming every day, in every small act of truth. Not because you must, but because you can. You stop settling, not because you've grown bitter, but because you've grown wise. You've touched your own depth. You've faced the fire. You've looked in the mirror and didn't turn away. And now, you rise, not as someone else, not as a polished product, but as yourself, unmasked, unleashed, unafraid. She is not some distant version of you. She is not a dream. She is here. She is now. And every time you choose her, when you speak what you truly feel, when you say yes to what sets your soul on fire, when you trust your body, when you let yourself rest, when you let yourself be fully seen, you step closer. She becomes not just a voice inside you. She becomes you. You were never meant to live half a life. The ache, the hunger, the fire, they were never your enemies. They were messages, reminders. They pointed you back to a truth you were never meant to forget. You are not here to be small. You are not here to be agreeable. You are not here to be everything for everyone else and nothing for yourself. You are here to become fully, fiercely, honestly, not overnight, not all at once, but with every choice to stop hiding, with every breath that says, I trust myself now, with every boundary you hold, with every no that protects your peace, and every yes that opens your heart. You don't need to earn your place in this world. You already belong. And the woman you've been aching to be, the one you feared, was too much. She's not too much. She's exactly right. If something in this story woke something in you, don't let it fade. Share it, pass it on, or simply sit with it. Let it move through you, quietly or loudly, in whatever way feels true. This is your moment, not to become someone else, but to finally come home to you,